Hey, what's up, Bill?
Oh, man, this is an unbelievable locale.
We're doing a little something different today. We took the show on the road. Where are we, Bill?
We're at the Shattamuc Yacht Club in Ossining, New York, on a historic N.Y.P.D. police launch, Launch 5, named after Patrolman Henry Walburger. And this is the first time we've done it on location shoot, but this boat has so much history, but I didn't have time last night to pull out the history books and read about it.
I did some research on it. I read about it.
Okay, tell me
It's
about
very,
it.
very interesting. Well, basically, this boat was... Well, you know what? Before, we got the man right here. Why don't we just introduce him?
Well, you know something, in keeping with the nautical theme, we brought in an NYPD former harbor detective, scuba diver.
Really?
And you know something, in my career on the police department, when they talked about people whose balls were dipped in butter, harbor was the first fucking unit. They said, those guys, look at them, they're out on a boat.
Tell our audience what that means, dipped in butter.
Well, in the police department, there's an expression. If you have a great detail, you drive the chief, you get
a great job.
Great job. They refer that your balls were dipped in butter.
So our first guest is a retired NYPD harbor detective
and scuba diver.
Scuba diver whose balls were dipped in butter.
He didn't know that till now.
And his name is Mike Carew. What's up, Mike Carew? How are you?
I'm doing great.
Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, you should be telling me welcome aboard.
Well, yeah, welcome aboard.
This is your boat?
This is not my boat.
Oh no, this is
Greg's boat.
Greg's boat.
Yes.
And but you were on the job and you worked on boats just like this, right?
Yes.
This wasn't one of them, though, right?
This was out of service when I was on a job, but it's the same exact boat. They were built at director shipyards in Mamaroneck.
Wow.
And they call launches?
Launches, they call them launches, yes.
Why is that?
There you go. There's different various terminology for boats. Again, boats, yachts, launches. All right.
Okay.
Now, launch is basically a
What's the specialty of a launch?
Well, okay, so it had several specialties. You know, again, going back to the early police days.
Because it looks almost like a tugboat in a way.
Well, and rightfully so, because it had so many different functions. All right, so sometimes you would come up on disabled boats, or you had to bow up to a pier or something like that. You had a roundish bow there with cushions on it. So there was a lot of over the years, patrolmen would put in their say of what.
How many years were you in harbor?
I was in 10 years. I was
10 years in harbor.
N.Y.P.D. for 10 years. Yes.
Okay, serious question here. What is the biggest fish you ever caught? While working.
Wow. Well, actually, it wasn't fish. It was lobsters.
You weren't allowed to, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that a thing? Like if they find a fishing rod on the boat, that's automatic. You get kicked out of the unit.
Yeah, you could do a lot of things, but that was one thing.
One thing you can't do.
Do not, because the public.
Ever.
That was the biggest joke, for the public. Oh,
Did
those
you
guys got
guys
fishing
fish
rods and
thongs
whatever.
out of the water at all, or was that pre-thong when you were on the job?
That was pre-thong, yeah. But
But that's the one thing you cannot do. You cannot fish on duty.
Do not bring a rod on the boat.
Did they ever come on board and check the boat for rods?
Oh, yeah. You get supervised several times a tour. A lot of times,
How do they do that? Do they have their own speedboat? Did you come up? The sergeant has a speedboat.
They had. Yes,
you get a scratch. You get a scratch on the water.
You get a scratch.
They
on
come
the
out
water,
really. They come out to give you a scratch on the
come
water.
Out on a scratch, yeah. Or they call you in for a
scratch. Is when they sign your memo book.
Yeah.
The sergeant comes around and
the log book.
So really, a sergeant who come up on a speedboat and scratch you?
Yep. Sergeant, lieutenant, captain, the shoe fly, the duty captain.
But you had a post too, like a foot post, but in a boat.
Yeah. Yep.
And did you actually patrol, or you just responded to radio runs on the water?
It was both. Scuba was a specialty within a special unit. And it was a lot of joke because the earlier divers, there was a lot of animosity between the harbor guys and the scuba divers, because the harbor guys always complaining the divers messed up the boat. There was actually an expression.
You guys in the harbor are very cunty.
Oh, yeah, they could be.
But how would the scuba guys mess up the boat?
Well, again, we were going in the water, so we'd get up and, we'd be mucking around in the mud, and, you bring mud up with you.
Oh, my God.
And then you didn't clean up afterwards?
Scuba diver Carew didn't clean up his mud.
You know why? Because I would imagine it's a specialty, right?
Yeah.
Being a scuba, like you said, you're in a special unit inside a special unit. So they got to call the scuba divers. You guys will dive in there. You come out, you're all full of crap, and then you just leave. And then they have to clean it up after you, right?
Yeah, we had to carry. They didn't carry our tanks. We had to carry our tanks, But every once in a while, you could like kind of rope them into it. And say, "You need a hand? Yeah, here, carry this."
But Harbor, it was part of a bigger unit under the umbrella of SOD, Special Operations Division, which included Harbor, Aviation, Emergency Service, and street crime at the time, right?
Yeah,
street crime.
So we also had a saying and a thing. We dive in shit and look for dead things, so that we had a model for that, because back in the early 80s, before the sewer treatment plants, 100.
We dive in shit and
look for dead things because they would dump 180 million gallons of raw sewerage in a river per day. So
you're talking about the Harlem River, East River Drive?
East River, there was 180 million gallons of raw sewage.
Because before, I remember looking at pictures, and kids would go swimming in Astoria Park, that side of the water over there.
Right.
I mean, realistically, if you've ever been down to Astoria Park, there's a shore there.
Right.
You're right on the water. There's no real reason why you shouldn't be able to jump in that water and go swimming, except for the fact that at one point it was really filthy, that water, wasn't it?
Oh, it was. It was a mess.
So you were risking your health just diving in that water. Period.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You wouldn't dive in there without, like in your Speedo, right?
Well, we did. I grew up on. I grew up on the water.
Did it have an N.Y.P.D. emblem? Your Speedo?
If you were real buff, you did. I grew up. Right there where Long Island Sound and East River meets, right by the Throgs Neck Bridge outside the Maritime College, small little community there. And the same thing, it was, you had the street sewers emptied in. And
I know what you're talking about, where you grew up over there, by the Maritime College over there.
Yeah, a little community called Silver Beach. And,
it's right on the water.
Right on the water, yep.
So that water up there when you were growing up you couldn't go swimming in there either?
No, we swam in it, and... guys that grew up in the city, swam in the city waters, were less likely prone to get sick than guys that didn't. And it was, a lot of guys were coming down with amoebiosis, Giardia different things. These are parasites that attack your intestines and stuff.
Oh man,
that's nasty. We used to have to get tested. I had gotten a parasite called blastocystis.
Are you talking about when you were a kid or when you were
on the
working
dive
Hubbard?
team?
Oh yeah,
in the dive team. Yeah,
that's with the equipment on, the scuba equipment on. Still
when I started in '83, we didn't have the dry suits and the full face masks and the protection that the guys have today.
Did you have to wear that big globe thing?
No.
With the cage on top?
No.
What are you watching, Diver Dan on TV from the 50s?
Exactly, yeah.
Holy shit. Let me ask you something, though. All cops, we always think, how the fuck did these guys get into Harbor? You going to answer that question for us, or is that a secret?
No, I'm going to answer.
Did you have prior... Were you in the military and Navy?
No, I just, no military experience. Just because of my background, growing up on the water, I worked in yacht clubs. You had
an interest
through high school. I had an interest. I got certified at a really early age.
What, for scuba diving?
Scuba diving, yeah. And
now, does every harbor guy have to know how to captain the boat?
No. No, they a lot of guys come in. Maybe they're experienced with experience on boats, deckhands, whatever.
So obviously you could drive the boats really well.
Yeah. Then that was the big thing years ago. You needed a hook.
Yeah, of course.
You need a hook.
Come on.
Who was your hook?
How surprising that you needed a hook.
Who was your hook?
You know what?
Because I could imagine there's about thousands of cops that live out in Long Island and up here that live right on the water, have a lot of boating experience too. You got to know somebody.
Well, for the divers, it was a different story.
But first you got into harbor, then you got into diving, right? Or you just got
I was.
You right into diving?
I was into diving from like 15 years old.
No, I'm talking about on the job. When you got to harbor.
I got called to go straight to the dive team.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was still on probation when I went into harbor.
Wow.
I
What do you
actually
mean
wasn't.
probation? You just got on the job?
I had just got on the job. I only did, I had like 9 months on the street.
Wow.
They were looking for divers. And actually, it's kind of funny. I wasn't even, looking to go on a job. I just, it was like, I took the test. Everybody in the neighborhood, you went, you took the fire department test, took the sanitation part, you took all the civil service.
83 or 84?
I went on in 82. January of 82, the class.
Oh,
the first class in 2000, yeah.
Class, right?
Right. And I was in college, and my investigator
studying oceanography in college, or no?
I started out studying marine science, marine geo.
I said that to be a wise ass, and sure enough, you did.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, why wouldn't you? Obviously, he's got a special interest in this. This is a beautiful
like
life.
I said, everything I did growing up was around the water, and you're gonna laugh, but even before I got started diving with tanks and stuff, we used to spear eels and sell them to the restaurant by me to pay for gas to go water skiing.
Wow. What do you mean spear eels?
Yeah, put a snorkel on, go down, find the eels, spear them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and we get 50 cents a piece. And back then, you get 6 eels and you got $3. And
what country are we talking about? We're talking about right here. You
right
go down spear eels.
The American eels.
And the Bronx too.
Who's doing that?
These were Bronx eels.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
Bronx eels must be scary. I would think, right?
Yeah, they're tough.
They carry knives.
Yeah, they do. And 6 eels would give you $3, and back then it was $3 for a can of gas and 6 gallons of gas and oil. So we get low on gas. I'd jump in the water, go spear some eels, go fill the tank back up, and back we were.
How old were you when you did this?
12, 14 years old.
Man. That's amazing.
Yeah. So, as it went on, and again, and then going off to, college, and same thing. I was working in yacht clubs, I was working on marines, I was working on fishing boats. I was studying for my captain's license also while I was in college. And then the investigator called like the night before I got sworn in and says, show up tomorrow at the Brooklyn Academy of Music to get sworn in. And,
remember they told you don't quit your job until you're sworn in. Remember that?
Yeah, exactly.
Because we don't want to find all kinds of criminal
No, it was because they didn't know if the class was going to get canceled. If the money was really going to be there.
Right. Yeah.
So you didn't. They told you don't quit your job until you're actually sworn in.
Yeah. And
I remember calling my job right after I swore in.
Yeah.
And I told them, I'm not.
I gotta quit.
I mean,
thanks for the 2 weeks notice.
Obviously, you let them know that it might happen, but
right, yeah, and
so your investigator calls you up and
says show up tomorrow morning, get sworn in as a police officer. And I was on a couple of lists. I was on a list for marine oil, Staten Island ferries, and a couple other things that I was looking to do. And I didn't think here I was 5'7", 5'8". At that time, I was 150 pounds,
Well, you're not much more than that now, are you?
A couple pounds more, wise guy. Yeah.
Are you going to try the suit on for us later?
Yeah, I might.
Does your original Speedo still fit you?
Yes, it
would.
would.
With the N.Y.P.D. emblem on it?
Might look a little funny, but no, we didn't wear Speedos, So
the idea was, are you trying to tell me that when the investigator called you, you went in with the whole class, right? Or you were like
it was 3,000.
Okay, yeah, okay.
That was like the biggest class. I think,
it was the biggest class. Yeah,
I thought for some reason you were trying to say that they already knew that you were going to go this harbor direction, that they needed you, and that's why you got like almost recruited.
No.
I
needed money, I needed a job, I needed benefits, so I went and says, I'll finish up, semester and all.
Most of the scuba divers have a military background that they learned. So what's the actual training to become a scuba diver besides what you already know? Does the department train you?
Yes. So what they want is at least 2 years on a you have at least 2 years on a job, but that was like the rule. But they were, like you said, they were
that can be erased for hooks.
Right.
And
yeah. Whatever.
Hot-looking chicks. And,
right. Yeah. And they want at least 2 years of diving experience in the Northeast, 2 to 3 years of, and all my diving was in the Northeast. Everything was in the East River, the Long Island Sound, and, zero visibility. And like I said, when I worked on the fishing boats, if we fouled up the prop or we bent it, we had to go down and change it, So, and again, I worked on City Island where one of the largest diving operations were based on City Island, IUC, International Underwater Contractors.
Wow.
I didn't go through there, but I knew a lot of the divers, and again, hanging out with guys, all these old time boat captains, divers, and
Mike, you know what I was always amazed at, and obviously I was in homicide. Guns that were tossed in the water, and we'd call Scuba, and he said he threw it right there. And they found it. I was like, how did you guys find that gun? Amazing. I mean, like, as you say, zero visibility. And we just had like a sort of idea where the guy threw it based on what the perp told us. He said he threw it over there.
Yeah.
And they dive and they get it. I was like, that's unbelievable.
Yeah, and again, that's where, again, we would grab the guys. A lot of times the perps didn't think we would find it, so they'd just say, I threw it in the water. They just threw it in later, they don't find it. I threw it in the water over there, But then you'd have guys, they still had the gun. And they said they threw it in the water, And we'd go when we dive, we'd look, and we'd come back and we'd say, gun's not in the water.
Yeah.
He's like, nah, I threw it in the water. We'd go,
and you could say that with certainty.
Yeah, you could say it with, you say it with certainty, and the guy would be like, and we'd grab him and go, okay, we're going to give you one more time. You'd go,
it's amazing how much crime comes out of the water.
Oh, it's amazing.
Bodies,
right.
Weapons,
yeah.
vehicles.
Yeah.
He's going to tell us some amazing stories, I'm sure. But we're moving him toward that. We don't want him to get a Woody yet, all right? So he
how many
talking
eels
about
did you catch while you were on duty? That's what I want to know.
Eels? No, we
No,
don't.
I mean, you can't have the fishing rod on the boat.
Why would I go for an eel when I get a lobster?
That's right.
Yeah.
He snagged a few lobsters. Did you have to give the first one to the boss, to the chief?
We always gave a couple to the boss,
My father-in-law had lobster traps out in, Orient Point.
Yeah, okay.
He used to go out there.
That's some clear water, though. That's too clear for him.
Yeah. He used to put the rowboat over his shoulder, carry it out there himself, and go out there, pull up his traps.
Yeah.
And then you got people out there that go out there and they steal.
Oh yeah, you get that all the time.
That's a big. Did you write some? But you weren't in harbor. You were in the Scuba.
In Scuba, yeah.
Like when you were diving and someone did something wrong, did you write them a summons right underwater?
Yeah.
Did you have those special?
Yeah, we're on a slate. Yeah.
Like Fred Flintstone.
You ever go down there scuba diving and then see some like a crime and then like have to collar a fish or something?
No, we shot him on the spot.
Yeah,
with spearfish.
How accurate? So you actually got do you go down there with the spear?
No, that was that again. That was
you were in Scuba. I'm talking about
that was as bad as having a fish ball on a ball. Yeah.
Oh, you couldn't go down there with the spear though.
No.
But you don't have your gun on you, so you need the spear.
No.
Just in case.
You also must do a lot of.
How do you defend
PR.
yourself if you're down there?
That was like, didn't you see Sea Hunt with the
knife,
with the big knife on the thigh?
Oh yeah, the
knife. You'd have to cut their hoses or whatever.
Right?
Underwater wrestle. And,
what do? You put the knife in your teeth just to intimidate them?
Yeah,
you bite down on it while you're swimming around
on your leg. The same thing. But as you laugh, there were times where we did have to fight perps in the water.
No, come on.
Yeah.
You got to tell me one of those stories.
Oh, it's actually this is a good one.
Man, I can't wait to hear this one. Bring it on.
This is hysterical. So it's like I think it was like the 4th of July '86. The centennial going on, and it's a big one. And we get a call of something over in Staten Island. We go over there, and while we're over there now, we get a call. Man in the water.
This involve Italians?
He could have been. I
didn't know if there's anyone else but Italians in Staten Island.
So what happened?
So, sure enough, we get a call, man in the water, and we go over, and this guy had jumped off the seawall, and he's swimming. So, so the lieutenant tells the guy, goes over there, and he tells me, and the guy's drunk. He's like, "Hey, buddy, get out of the water, go back to your friend." And he starts, telling us, "Fuck you, blah blah blah." This, that, the other. And the lieutenant says, "Listen, do us a favor, get out of the water, and the guy's arguing, whatever, and his friends are all heckling us and, cheering him on. And
they pour water on you?
No, actually, well, here's where the guy got. Like I said, there's a difference of now and then.
Yes.
All right. So, so his buddy grabs a beer, and the lieutenant says, "Don't throw that to him." And I'm like, let's, give the guy a little bit of a break. Let's just, now the lieutenant's like, I'm demanding you get out of the water. And the guy's like, go fuck yourself, whatever. And he goes, I'm telling you, we're going to come in here and get it. He goes like, yeah, go ahead, come in and get it, So his buddy throws the beer after the lieutenant tells him not to. And the guy, he pops the beer, he starts drinking it, and now he throws the can, and it just misses me.
Oh, shit.
Oh, yeah, now, buddy, you just crossed the line. So now the lieutenant looks at me and goes, Mike, suit up, go in and get him. So the guy tells me.
It's good he told you to get him, not him.
Yeah, right, yeah. So that's why he's a boss.
That's right, I guess so.
So, and the guy's telling me, you get in the water, I'm going to kick your ass. I don't think so. Here I am, I'm snorkeling for eels all the time. I'm snorkeling down at 30, 40 feet, catching lobsters on my, off-duty time, all sorts of stuff. I don't think you're going to, have a chance.
You're like
with
a
me.
fish, and he's a human in the water.
Right, yeah, and he's a drunk, and he's a drunk slob,
Yeah.
So I jump in the water, and he starts swimming towards me. And with that, one of my other teammates jumps in the water, and he's swimming up behind him, and I'm just sort of paddling back, and making the guy swim towards me, and I'm making him swim, get him a little bit out of breath, and I'm like kind of like almost teasing him, letting him almost get within hand's reach of me, and so now I decide, okay, I'm gonna go under. So I go under, and he comes down and he tries to chase me underwater.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Bad move.
Yeah. And now, like, he can't, I see him, he's like, his eyes, he's like, his face is like ready to explode because he's trying to hold
This is like an episode of Finding Nemo here.
Oh, yeah, it was great. So, with that, he pops to the surface, and there's my other teammate behind him, and he throws like his arm around his neck, and now the guy
choke.
Well,
Can't use that anymore.
It's hard to say if it was an illegal chokehold or not, because it was actually, almost like one of those moves where they taught you how to grab somebody when you're saving them.
Yeah.
But he throws his arm around his neck, and the guy's his eyes like almost bulging out of his head now because first of all he's out of breath. Now he's got somebody grabbing him around the neck. And so we get a set of cuffs. We're telling the guy, all right, stop fighting.
Who would have cuffs in harbor? That's the other thing.
They throw us a set.
Okay. All of a sudden, some out of nowhere, cuffs come flying.
Exactly,
Are they nautical cuffs or what?
Oh yeah, they with special stainless steel, I guess. But regular cuffs. And so we're telling before we threw the cuffs on him, we're telling him, all right, buddy, knock it off, and he's fighting us. So we're grabbing him. Now I'm like, hey, just knock it off. The guy's really trying to fight us. So they throw the cuffs to me. I slap a cuff on one arm, and I'm telling him, put your hand behind your back. Put your hand behind your back. As I grab him and I twist his elbow, his arm like rips out of the socket.
Oh shit!
Yeah, I feel it like I'm like, ooh, wow, now the guy
that hurts too.
Yeah, the guy's screaming, whatever. So
you're like, I break eels, man.
yeah.
That felt like an eel to me for some reason.
So it's just it just keeps getting better and funnier. All right. So now we swim him back to the boat, and the guy is still like he's like almost like crying. Oh, I'm sorry, whatever. Hey, buddy, until you threw the beer can at me, I had a little, sorry for you, but that's the line you crossed.
Would you charge him with?
Well, I never got to charge him with anything, but I don't know if he still got out of the psych ward now because
that's the smartest way to do it.
There was. So now we get him up on a boat, and he's in his boxer shorts that are, too big. He's hanging out, and hanging out. And we get another call. There was an actual boat on fire not far from us. So now we got the perp on a boat. All right.
Good.
We got I think some other detective or something. We shoot over. We take care of that. Now we're bringing the guy back to the boat. His arm, he's in cuffs. His arm's dislocated. And the boat's rocking back and forth. that's painful.
Yeah,
You know,
sure.
you know when you got a broken bone or a dislocation,
You don't want to be on a boat.
You don't want to be. You want to like have a mobilized, steady thing, whatever. But again, we had boats burning. We got to get people off that. And
Why didn't you call aviation to bring this drunk to Bellevue?
Hey, well, listen.
Harbor 5,
Yes.
Aviation 6. Could you have
We need what is it, medevac?
medevac a drunk for us, please?
Now we go back. Now we go back to the bulkhead and a string piece, and they had these like 12 by 12s, all tar and this, that, the old thing, and the tide is down a bit, so we're probably about 8 foot below the bulkhead. So now we got them strapped into this the stoker basket. You know what I'm talking about? It's like it's a wire mesh, looks like chicken wire or whatever, and we got him face down because he's cuffed behind his back, and we strap him in, and now we got the
He was
emergency.
like the guy from Silence of the Lambs, but he didn't kill anybody. He just jumped in the water. What are you guilty of? Well,
this guy's probably listening to this.
Man.
He's probably
I
going,
jumped
"Oh,
in the
man,
water.
I
had a couple in me. I saw the water was hot. I said, you know what, I'm going to jump in. And then the cops started fucking with me. So I was like, leave me alone. I just want to swim around
Imagine
a
this
little bit.
an episode of Live PD. They would love an episode.
This guy's like, they're bringing him in like Silence of the Lambs.
So now we got him, and again he's screaming, he's in pain. We got
course
him,
he is.
we got him strapped in, and now we stand him straight up in a Stokes basket, and you got a couple emergency service guys reaching over the side to lift, and while they're lifting, we're pushing. And now they're dragging a Stokes basket across the top of the string piece, and the guy's screaming bloody murder. And we're
he's in pain, man.
Oh yeah, whatever. And then when they lift up the Stokes basket, we couldn't believe it.
His arm fell out.
No, his packet is
His Johnson
hanging,
fell out.
hanging
That's why he's in pain.
between the chicken wire, and when they were dragging the Stokes basket up over it, it's dragging across this old
Is this a family show?
splinter. It's bleeding, splinters and tar all over it.
Well,
I thought you were going to say it fell off and you had to dive for it.
Yeah.
That would have been your most amazing dive.
That's a Bobbitt story or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I think justice was served to him right then and there. But
I would
Sounds
imagine.
like the penalty was even
Yeah,
more
man, that's,
severe.
and then at that point now you got EMS there, and they already got him going to the site.
How'd you lose
Psych
your
ward.
dick? Well,
It all started with a beer can.
it's a long story. It was hot. We were drinking. I wanted to jump in the water.
There's
cool
one
off.
reason you should wear
Then
a
these
Speedo.
fucking
It
cops show up.
keeps your Johnson strapped to your body,
They're telling me to get out of the water.
Yeah, you hung up on a Speedo, You wear a Speedo or something or
Nah,
what?
I never wore Speedos.
They just,
Oh man, that's some story, man. Holy shit.
That's crazy.
But imagine you saw obviously there's always body parts washing up on shore.
Oh,
And then you gotta go down and get 'em too, right?
Here's another one for
before
you.
we
Don't you
go
gotta
there,
go down and get 'em?
Before we go there, being in Harbor too, you guys like the public relations of the NYPD, right? So you must
Yes.
always be taking celebrities and politicians and other assholes out on the boat, I guess, right?
Oh, yeah, exactly.
So tell me about some of that. What celebrities did you bring out on the boat?
Geez, now I'm trying to forget. I'm kind of forgetting it. What was the blonde's name on?
The blondes.
Yeah. I
The
can't
blonde
remember
one?
the
On
name.
what show? Was it TV?
Yeah.
Pam
Not
Anderson?
Baywatch. Pam Anderson, no?
Oh shit,
No,
that would
one, I
have
don't
been
think
a
I'd
good
forget
get
that
right
one.
there.
I wouldn't forget that one. No. I can't.
It doesn't matter. How about some politicians? They're always looking for free boat rides, right?
Yeah, Koch was always on a boat. He was cool.
Really?
Yeah. We
Just
always had mayors
for
and stuff.
business or just because he liked to ride out on the boat?
Well, a combination. Sometimes it
Take
would,
me to Brooklyn. It's just too much traffic on the Brooklyn.
he wasn't like that. But sometimes they would, he would go if there was maybe some sort of dignitary or whatever. But a lot of times we would have to, if he was flying somewhere, we'd have to pull up to the the heliport and whatever, or he would, we'd take him out, and he was good. He was good.
I thought that would be interesting for our listeners. I don't know, maybe the body
I
parts.
thought you had like you knew something and you were leading
No, because I
into
know
it.
that harbor and aviation,
way you
they
said
always
it,
have
though,
to take politicians.
But he said, didn't he say it like, oh, I got this, I know he's got a story about the celebrity,
I
so I'm going to
figured you
lead him
must,
right into
because
that. Then he was like, I
I
don't know
all the
anybody.
celebrities always have to, and politicians always looking for free rides on helicopters and shit, right?
Yeah.
And on boats, because they're buffs.
We did do a lot of VIPs years ago. VIPs.
What about these jet skiers, man? Aren't they out there all the time too? Isn't that annoying?
Like the Hell's Angels on the water, right?
Some of them, they.
They usually don't know what they're doing.
A lot of them don't. They're just
And there's a lot of booze, right? People driving around drunk.
Yeah, a lot of them
That's
pushing
another one. Boating while intoxicated. You guys enforce that?
Well, it's hard to enforce it while you are, but no. No. But years ago, that wasn't as big of a deal as it is
It's
today.
huge.
That
It's
was
huge now,
I
right?
mean, years ago, booze, boating and booze went together.
Where do you stay in the meantime? Because harbor goes out,
Right.
and you're not like driving around on a scuba boat. You're somewhere in the meantime until they need scuba, right?
Yeah, a lot of times you.
So
be
you
at
had
the
a base on
we
land.
had,
They don't want to admit it. They're like firemen.
But you had a base on land, right?
we did have we had a boat, and then
I'm just
when
saying.
I started,
But didn't you had a base on land?
we had a
And then
base on land.
When they needed you, they
where
called you.
And we would respond by boat, helicopter, van. We had a van, but
Now, when they call you, are you running around like coming out of your base with the what are the things on your feet?
the
With the flippers and the backpack already ready to dive in like G.I. Joe, or do you suit up when you get there?
Sometimes we did, and I would tell people being on a scuba team was one of the armed forces had the best saying: "It's not just a job; it's an adventure." All right, because you'd show up and you never know what was going on. Every time you pull up to the base, the aviation unit sitting there, and they're yelling, "Come on, let's go! We got your gear!" I jumped out of the truck, didn't even turn it off. I left it running, and just jumped right in the helicopter. As soon as I got in, the air lifted off and off to a job we went. It was great.
He's recording.
And it was just all there was always some sort of adventure going on. Guys were afraid to take off because they were afraid what they were going to miss.
Sure. I used to get like that too. I still love it. When I worked anti-crime, I used to hate to miss work because I loved it so much.
Yeah.
I really did.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to miss work. I thought I would miss something.
Yeah.
But I could see your job.
I liked working in
Scuba.
Warrens. I never wanted to miss the day there. That was always fun. The squad, I always felt like driving my car into a bridge and bumped me. Let Scuba go looking for me.
Yeah.
I
You
hated
had
the
20,
freaking
30
squad.
cases waiting for you when you
you'd
got
be
to
like,
work, right?
Disaster.
Yeah, I'd be going to work and
But there's
you'd
like
pull up
literally, if you're in Scuba, there's no paperwork at all, right? It's not like you.
No,
we went down, it was nothing there, and you got.
it was a little bit of paperwork, but not that much. You had to write down. Of course, you had the logs. They called them the AHUs, the harbor unit paperwork. You had to write down what the dive was, who was in the water, what was what squad. You did have to give a little bit of paperwork, but for the most part,
What's the deepest you ever go down?
Well, most of the areas in the river only most of the diving was in like maybe 30 foot of water or shallower. The river does get to the deepest part of the river gets to about 120. I never really when I was on, I never had that opportunity or the need to go to that.
But you're comfortable with that, right?
Yeah, the other part was Hell's Gate. It was
Current's
tugboats.
unbelievable,
Yeah.
right?
When you
Oh, yeah.
travel on vacations, do you go to places where you're going to be able to scuba?
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when you go there, are you looking to go deeper than like 30 feet, or you just like to stick
Whatever,
around there?
depth,
Is that important to divers, how deep you can go? No?
Some guys it is. Some people it is. I've had some of my best dives have been in the shallow water. Some of the dives, if a wreck or something interesting in 80 feet, that's fine. What happens with depth is you start to get your dive is cut short because the deeper you go, the more air you're consuming because it's compressed, and also you're building up nitrogen in your body, so you
What's
can't.
what's the average time that you go down there for? Like in 30 feet of water.
At 30 feet,
how much time can you spend down there?
I get an hour. I can get an hour plus out of it.
Really, down there the whole time for an hour?
Yeah. And some people, they're down there 30 feet and they only get, they can only stay down there 20, 25 minutes.
They're breathing too hard.
They're breathing too hard, or
But your breathing now is like, it's better than when you were up here, right?
Yeah, relax. It is. It's a whole nother world.
You ever see a mermaid?
Yeah.
You ever down there? What's the craziest shit you ever seen down there? Like the weirdest fish, just something like, wow, that scared me. Came out of the blue.
We've had, garden hoses and stuff like that, get you tangled up in, and,
really?
you come all of a sudden, like I said, low visibility, and, they call like big
down there with a big flashlight, though, right?
Yeah, even sometimes with the big flashlights, it didn't matter, yeah. So, the big hoses that the tugboats toted the barges with, they're hanging off the pier, and, when they caught, like, the line phrase, I
mean, we're joking around here, but weather's a big factor because somebody dies and the body's there. You call scuba, and it's in the middle of winter. You guys got to go down there, right?
Oh, yeah.
How do you prepare for that?
Well, again, it's the suits that you wear, and when before dry suits, it was just thicker wetsuits,
Mm-hmm.
So is it like a survival suit?
Yeah, it's almost like a survival suit that.
But you
fits.
still feel the cold, though, right?
Eventually, you get cold. Yeah. When you first get in the water, the cold water's seeping in. Then your body warms that water and stuff. But now we got dry suits and different thermal protection to put on underneath it, full face masks. Better gloves than we had years ago. Watertight gloves, waterproof gloves. So it's like everything else. You prepare to go out in the snow.
And then you had situations where what just happened. Well, what was that? All the bodies were still washing up ashore. I think it was like 30 people. They were on
California.
They were on a boat.
Right.
Yeah. They were on a
It
boat.
was a dive boat.
There was a fire on the boat, right?
Right.
And so I would imagine their scuba guys are probably working like just. They never stop.
They're doing a lot of dives. From what I understand, the last time I heard, I think there's still one person missing. But there's a salvage operation going on.
No, because we were joking around a lot, but the reality is when you guys are needed, you're needed.
There's no doubt.
It's not always summer.
We joked a lot.
Look, the Miracle on the Hudson, that was in February. And Scuba had to go and dive into the plane to see if anyone was left in the plane, and luckily, the captain was a real hero. He went back into the plane 3 times to make sure everyone was out. That was really, the guy was amazing. Balls of a lion, that guy.
Oh, absolutely. Just the thought of having to put that plane down, and whether it was on a runway with no power or in the water, that's But to make the choice to water and know all the possibilities, consequences,
he was amazing,
whatever.
That guy, right?
But look at all the lives he spared by getting it into the water and not over land.
Yeah, incredible.
Yeah. Like I said, it was as much as people used to joke all the time, we'd pull up along the South Street Seaport, Pier 17 there, and everybody always had the jokes. Where's your fish balls? This, that, the other.
What was the joke?
Hey, where's your fish balls? Oh, look at you guys, this, that, the other thing you got, whatever. Yeah, and we would say, where were you in February? And the same thing. I would say that all the time. In times, in the middle of February, 3:00 in the morning, you're airlifted up the Hudson into ice flows, and you're jumping out of a helicopter into the middle of the Hudson.
Are you on call?
Right. Yeah.
Did you get the choice? No, I'm just saying. Did you get the phone, the department phone, and the take home car and stuff? Because when they give you that,
I think he retired pre-phone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but.
Were you on call? Like if something happened, that they'd call you up late in the middle of the night, wake you up.
That was years ago when there was only like 6 divers on a team. When I went into the team.
How many divers are there?
Now that I think there's about 30.
Is it citywide or is it broken down per borough?
Well, no, it's one unit, and then they disperse guys Sea Res. Now they have guys that are primarily at Sea Rescue for like a month or 2 months, assigned to a helicopter. And if that helicopter goes up, they got to go with it. There's guys on boats.
How much
vans.
training are you guys doing? I would imagine there's a lot of training going on.
Yeah,
Because you have to coordinate also too with aviation, don't you? Sometimes?
We used to train with aviation, jump out of the helicopters.
But there's the guys in the Coast Guard that are known almost like as SEALs, the Seabees, that go into the water to save people in real rough water.
Right. Those guys,
NYPD
yeah.
doesn't have that, right?
No, they've got it where they're, again, when I was there, they didn't have the hoist on the helicopters to pull us back out. Once you went out, and that was one of the jokes. There was another guy.
Right?
We always got a one-way trip. And there was an aviation pilot, John O'Hara, lives in my neighborhood too. And people would ask me, John O'Hara? I go, yeah. I said, well, anytime I fly with him, he only gives me a one-way trip. They're like, what? And I go, yeah, I get out. He never picks me up.
So you got to bring your overtime slip with you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But that was the thing. When you jumped out, you had to wait for a launch to pick you up.
Yeah.
So,
What do you do with your memo book in that suit?
As he would say, you'd put it in your Speedo.
See, we're all like patrol and detective bureau oriented. We're all of this horse shit, we always have to think.
Yeah. Again, that was the thing about, being in Scuba Harbor and stuff like that. The memo books weren't as big and whatever. And, you got to scratch, if you go, hey, you put the date in and the tour you were doing and the boss, and you signed out, Yeah.
You know what I thought? One time we had this across from Yankee Stadium, but on the Manhattan side. It may have been the McCombs Dam Bridge. I don't remember exactly. But there was a big party underneath the bridge, and this girl got drunk, and she started barfing, and she fell in the water. And the current over there was unbelievable. And like 2 or 3 guys jumped in to try to save her. They did all they could to save their own life after they jumped in there. And she went down at some place, and the next day, Harbor came with some scuba divers, and they asked us, where did she go down? And 3 of the guys that dove in for her, they pointed it out. And I had learned at that point that when someone drowns, they go down, they stay pretty much in the area where they went down.
Right where they hit bottom, they stay.
They stay there. I was amazed by that. I thought, and that's what, and then the gases build up and they rise, and that's why it's called a floater. Right?
Yeah. And in the beginning, some of the first recoveries I made was also up at Columbia Rock there.
What do you mean recoveries?
Yeah, body recoveries.
Okay.
Yeah. And, kid jumps in off the rock, and I guess maybe got the wind knocked out of him, and, and he went down. And I used to say, when that body hits, it doesn't matter how much current, he's not, because, you see these currents, you're like, there's no way.
But the same current doesn't exist below the water.
No, it does. No, it could be just as strong. But what they said was almost like a hydraulic effect that the water would just go right up over the body like a spoiler, and actually kind of keep it down. And we're doing a search, and we're really literally holding on the line, trying to keep play, swim, moving a grapnel, and as you're grabbing on the bottom to pull yourself along, and you grab maybe a rock or something, you think you're going to pull yourself, and all of a sudden you dislodge that rock, and the current just rolls it away from you,
Wow.
And then the same thing, they'd be like, debris going past you like tumbleweeds, you'd be like, there's no way this...
Are you on a line?
We're on a line, yeah. We would set what we call a grapnel line, a hook on one end, and then another hook on the other with an upline, and the upline was always down current. And you'd be pulling yourself along, and like I said, you'd be pulling, and it would be like pulling yourself in that current. It'd be like almost like being on like pulling yourself up a gym rope into the ceiling.
Right.
You really,
you gotta be physically fit.
oh yeah,
right?
the strength, the muscles in your forearms, your hands, they're
How
screaming.
did you stay in shape? Did you lift weights and stuff too?
A lot of cardio. You'd some left, and push-ups. Set. You stayed in shape, and the physical aspect to get on a team was very, very hard.
So you can't have a lot of guys that are donut eaters in the harbor.
Definitely not. Definitely not. Yeah, so there wasn't many donut eaters, but again, you could actually. There was a couple of guys that were big, but they were actually very strong. A lot of good cardio, and one of the guys that I think had it was in the best shape, most cardio was John Spillane. John Spillane was a diver. He was also an Air National Guard. He's the one that went down in the perfect storm in a helicopter.
Oh, wow.
100, yeah. So, guys, diving with guys like that, a lot of, some of the guys were ex-Navy SEALs and stuff like that too, but not all of them.
That's an argument for like why they should relax like the age limits, because someone does years in the service as a Navy SEAL and then they want to come on the police department and say they're 35 or whatever it is, they should be allowed to come on no matter what damn age they are, It used to be 29. When I came on,
right.
Once you hit 29, that was it. No more police, unless you had service.
Yeah, but when I came on, I think you could go up to 40. And we had like a 40-year-old rookie with us.
It depends who that 40-year-old is. You don't want some 40-year-old, donut eater. Come on,
but he was a 40-year-old rookie.
A 40-year-old donut eater. That's,
Hey, how effective is weighting down the bodies? Let's say you were doing you committed a homicide and you put them just like the movies, the mobsters, a film full of lead weight, you dump them down there.
Short period of time. We used to get
like Big Pussy in The Sopranos when they hit him on the boat. Remember they threw him over with all the.
What's a short period of time?
Short period of time. Again,
months, year.
Okay, so not even. Only until your body will lift over 550 pounds with the gas that builds up in the body.
Really?
So they'd put them in 55-gallon drums, think they're throwing rocks and stuff and dump the people. And, next thing, a couple days later, that drum's floating around.
Couple days later, man.
Yeah.
Most of these mob guys aren't engineers. But they could figure that out,
No, we could stay here for weeks talking about mob stuff.
We're going to do that. Let me ask you something, though. What was your scariest experience as far as danger you were put in yourself that you feared for your own life in a dive?
There was actually kind of two that shook me up a little bit. Was once we're diving in the Harlem River, and the Harlem River and the Hudson and the East River flow in actually opposite direction when the tide runs. So if you have an incoming tide, and the tide's going north in the Hudson, the water's actually going south in the Harlem.
Wow.
All right, because it comes in, feeds up, Spite and Dive, comes down.
It looks like a whirlpool, right?
Well, the whirlpools are over in Hell's Gate area, but because of the way the river feeds, the water comes in from Spite and Dive and runs south. So it's the winter time, and we got a couple of new guys on the team, and we're looking for a gun off one of the bridges, and the sergeant says, "I want you to take so-and-so in the water and, take them looking for the gun, do some training." And we get up there and I go, "Sergeant, I don't think this is a good time to, this is not good. We got ice, this, that, the whole thing, and some ice flows and stuff." He goes, No, you'll be good, you're going to be good. I'm like, Sergeant, I'm not really comfortable taking this guy in the water in this area.
If someone would have said that to me, I was a sergeant, I would say, okay, you're the best judge.
Yeah.
What the hell am I to tell you to do something you don't want to do when it's dangerous like that?
So how come when I told you I had to go downtown to get that picture of the perp?
Because I knew you were just going to have a 6-hour meal.
I'm the best judge. I'm the best judge.
Yeah, Mark, I think you're right. At noon, you should be back at about 6 tonight.
Yeah, so we get in the water and we're doing a search, and we're down for a while, and I look and I figure it's time to go up. And again, I really couldn't really see pressure gauge and stuff like that. So, but at this time now we're coming up.
How close do you guys stay to each other down there?
We're right next to each other, and that was one of the we called it when you were going the line, one hand would bump the other, so you were right next to each other. You could you knew each other was like right close. So we're coming up, and we had a little bit this particular time. We had a little bit of visibility, and we come up, and the tide had switched. So now the ice is now flowing down. We're in this little cove area, and the ice is coming south, and it's packing up in the corner where we are. And this big ice flow comes, and it jams it. So we had to go down below the ice.
So you could get crushed by it.
So I had to go underneath the ice so we didn't get crushed. And we're down about 500 psi. Only got a little bit of air left, And I got a new guy here. And I'm like, okay, so I have my hand on the ice and I feel it moving and it's pulling the line all over the place and I feel the ice moving across and I'm looking, I'm like, all right, come on, I'm looking. Now this guy, the other new diver, he's starting to get really nervous and scared, and I'm playing real cool. I'm like,
But you're scared
relax.
shit.
I'm concerned. I'm concerned, So I'm looking at my gauge and I'm down at about, 350. And he's looking at me.
What does that mean? How much time is 350?
Well, let me tell you.
It depends.
You're getting nervous. You're going to go through that 350 in no time at all.
Because when you get nervous, you breathe harder.
Yeah, breathing heavy. So I'm saying to myself, all right, relax, slow down, calm down, relax, breathe slow, relax, just. So and that's what I did. I talked myself into like relaxing, and now I'm looking at the other guy, and he's like almost in a panic, like pointing at his gauge, and I'm using my hand signals, like just relax, calm down, we got it, and the pressure's dropping, and I'm starting to like, oh, shit, and I got to start really thinking, and I'm starting to think like, all right, I'm gonna tie the line to us, so if we pass out, they don't have to like come looking for it. They can just like pull us up like a fish,
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, there was a break in the ice, that big ice chunk passed. We pop up and the sergeant's on the boat and he's like screaming, swim, and we swim to the.
You caused this, you dick.
Yeah, exactly. So I see him all the time. I talk to him. We laugh about it. And he goes, yeah.
That's pretty scary, though, man. I mean, I don't dive, and you telling me that story, I was like, oh my God, the claustrophobia.
Yeah.
Just the thought of not being able to get up to the surface.
Yeah. And we make it to the platform. I get to the platform. I grab on the
Especially
rungs of the
since it
ladder.
wasn't for a job, it was just some training.
Exactly. And again, it's the physical fitness, the training, the experience, everything that came in. And as I'm coming up the ladder is when the air shut off. And I'm like,
oh wow,
oh shit,
That's gotta be,
yeah.
Holy shit.
And then there was another time we're down in about 60 feet of water in Newark. One of those, I think they call them chubs. Went off the pier. Pulls those big containers and stuff like that around the port, and went in. And it went in about 60 feet of water.
So a vehicle fell off the boardwalk? Is that what you're saying?
I don't know if the guy had a heart attack or what, but or if he just decided that's it, I'm going. And
he went down with it.
He went down with it, and it's just a big like 4-wheel tractor,
lift stuff has a lift on the front.
No, it didn't have a lift. It had like a hitch or something. I used to pull trailers and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Just big diesel motor, and it was just a cabin for the operator, And it went in the mud upside down. So we go down, and it's like super soft mud, and I'm digging in the mud, trying to open the door, and I'm digging, opening the door a little bit, and moving the mud out of the way, opening up, and I reach in, I go in a little bit, and I'm trying to pull him out, and his feet are hung up underneath the pedals, and I can't get him out.
Shit.
So I got to open the door a little bit to get further in to grab his feet, and get him out untangled. And my dive partner's like telling me, he's giving me the signal like, don't go in, And so I'm like, So I'm digging the mud away from the door, I'm opening it up a little bit more, and I go in and I go up, and now I'm like moving his feet around, and all of a sudden I feel this crushing feeling, and this thing's still sinking into the mud.
Oh shit.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. And now I try and go out. And I can't.
The door's stuck in the mud, right?
And now I'm stuck in the mud, and I can't. And I'm trying to push myself out, and I can't get out. So, but what I did do is I put my partner's hand on my ankle, as I went in, and
so he knew.
He's got a hold of my ankle, and he could tell.
And you got a hold of the other guy's ankle.
I got a hold of him and whatever.
He's got the dead guy.
Yeah, I got the dead guy, and so at this point I'm like, I got to get out. So I let go. I'm using both hands trying to back out, but I can't back out. And I feel the pressure starting to push on me. I'm getting sunk into the mud. And I just like, okay. So I start shaking my ankle for my partner, like, and he got the idea, pull me out, So he starts pulling me out. And now I'm coming. And now I'm like, I'm getting to the point where I know I'm like kind of free, I just throw my arm back in. I grab a piece of the guy and I yank, and he comes out too, But But
It was a double
So you got him.
success story.
yeah,
there.
we got him. But there
Wow.
was
But
that
he,
one.
he was dead already.
He was dead, you know. But you know, it was that one. Those are the two ones that, you know.
Yeah, when you got to go into a confined space underwater, that's got to be scary as hell.
Oh yeah, it's, you know, again, when, you know, you got. Besides, it's everything's new. It's not like it's there and you get to check it out, and, you know, you're going in, you're doing things, and, you know, a lot of times you're going inside these cars. They were teetering on top of pilings and stuff,
Right,
and
right.
you know.
Yeah, we
You
had a
know.
guy commit suicide once in Riverside Park. He just drove his car right through the fence there
Right.
and sunk down, and I don't know how deep the water was. And the door opened, and he flew out. And, you know, Scuba dove down. He wasn't there.
Yeah.
What happened to the driver, you know?
Yeah. Well, yeah. A lot of times we'd find, you know, the drivers outside the vehicles, you know, and they didn't make it, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, the ones that really wanted to do it, they stayed. But the ones, if they changed their mind or if it was an accident, they tried to get out.
It's amazing how much police activity
Did-
goes on in the water.
So much goes on that people never even hear about, you know. You know, the news doesn't cover, you know, all
just-
these different things. I mean, there's
Suicides, cars
Yeah.
going off bridges,
been, yeah, you know,
weapons down there.
you know, yeah. Another funny one, you're talking about people missing. You know, this is another good one. We get a call, car in the water, confirmed. You know, and we show up. It's over by the Manhattan Bridge there, and right outside like where the post building was there. So we get some witnesses. That says, yeah, you know, car went in the water, and you know, a few seconds later, you know. A guy and a girl pop up out of the car. They swim over. We help them out of the water. They just ran off. I'm like, what? You know?
And they
like,
just
oh,
left.
shit,
Didn't
yeah,
want to stick
you know.
around to be famous.
What-
He
Whatever,
looked
yeah.
like Ted Kennedy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, you know, we got to go check out what's going on, and and then so we go down and we check the car out. It's empty. You know. So we come back and, you know, we're witness, you know, checking. People are like, yeah, they just, yeah, whatever. You know, so we get the sanitation, come with their wrecker, and we hook the car up, pull it out. And what it turned out to be, and again, now they got the registration. They go, and the detectives check out what happened. And the guy and the girl, they were getting it on in the car. And it was in like October, November, so it was a little cold. The car was running, and while having sex, one of them kicked the car in drive.
Oh, shit,
And it went
yeah.
right in the water.
When that happens.
Yes, yeah. So yeah, their clothes were in the car. They were naked, and they ran off.
Yeah.
So you know, when the detectives showed up, they're like, "What happened?" They're like, "Yeah," you know, and they tell them the story. So
Yeah.
you know, it was kind of like a good, funny one. That
That's a
you
good
know,
story. You know, it was funny during the Miracle on the Hudson.
Right.
One of our jobs was the detective bureau was to account for all the people that were on the plane. And after we had accounted, people went to hospitals all over the place. There was one guy missing. So, you know, Scuba's diving for the guy. So I had one of the detectives. I go, just call that guy at home.
Yeah.
So the detective calls the guy. The guy's like, hello? He goes, hey, dude, were you just on that plane that crash landed on the Hudson River? He goes, yeah.
yeah,
He goes, you just went home? You didn't tell anybody where you were? He goes, you know, there's scuba divers diving in ice cold water looking for you right now? He says, tell them they can get out. I'm okay. Can't make this shit up, right?
yeah.
Well,
yeah.
that's
Another one to get back to.
well,
Like with
before you get to that,
Yeah.
we're gonna take a break.
Okay.
Okay, we're gonna take a break because we have to we got to recharge the engine here. Make sure we got fresh batteries in. Hit
We
the
also
head.
just need, or we could do it on the next show too, just a shout out to the captain of this boat, Greg Porteus, who, coincidentally or not, is related to one of our top guests we have on Police Off the Cuff.
All right, we'll
Detective
repeat that.
Pat.
We'll repeat
We'll
that at the
definitely
top of
repeat
the
on
hour.
the next one, but you know we want to thank him for allowing us to shoot this episode on this boat. This is an amazing.
All right, let's do it. When we come back, we'll point
do
that
a-
out. We'll do a little history on the boat too.
All right, absolutely.
But this was a great first
I feel like
hour.
we could, you know, you open the
It's
Coronas,
fascinating
we
how
could
much
talk forever.
You don't realize how much stuff you guys actually do. We were joking around a lot.
that their balls are dipped in butter. I still think their balls are dipped in butter, but they do a lot.
You know, yeah, the same thing.
Sounds
We
like
never
they're really,
got
really
into,
busy, man.
Yeah, the same thing. You never got into how mine were not dipped in butter and how I got on the team,
We'll go into
We'll
that.
cover that. We'll cover that and more
Yeah.
at the top of the hour. We'll be right back. We're going to take a break right now. That was a great first part here on Police Off the Cuff on the water here in Ossining in Launch 5. And we'll be right back.
You know, I got to tell you guys something. He's being very humble. Let me just give you a couple examples. You see that peninsula right there?
Uh-huh.
2 kids drowned over there, 14 years old. They had nobody. Coast Guard from Point Pleasant, New Jersey called me. Before I could start the engines and go out there and get those kids, a chopper flew in, dropped the divers in the water. And then 3 launches showed up. That's all they had. The Westchester County Executive called everybody.
Yeah.
Point Pleasant, New Jersey, 2 years ago, Thanksgiving Day, boat overturns in the inlet.
Yeah.
The Coast Guard stood there and seeing people drown, they can't get them. N.Y.P.D. chopper dropped 3 divers and recovered everybody.
We're going to get into those stories.
And they're better than the Navy SEALs.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah,
don't really want to say that.
No, we're going to get into
They
these
are-
like acts of heroism, but we like to start slow and like humor and shit.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
And then, did you recover that trooper that was murdered in the troop car
Yeah.
in Hell's Gate?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean-
So,
Well, you know,
exactly.
we
I'm
know-
trying to go off their
No,
lead, you know.
like, we know you have a
between
million
that.
great stories, but we'll get to them.
Oh, yeah.
We can't, we can be here 5 hours. You
We
know?
could be here for fucking days. What are you kidding me?
All right.
And then there's stories.
time out.
don't want to tell.
Time out.
Well,
Time out.
no,
We're going to take a 2-minute break. Is there a bathroom downstairs?
No, in the club.
Piss over the side.